Something I struggled with for a long time, up until quite recently, was being on my spiritual path, being considering myself a spiritual person, but also wanting to make money, and this sort of fight between the two. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who feel the same. You feel like if you're spiritual, you know the spiritual path. There's journeys and levels you feel like you can ascend to, and at some point you get in this stage where you view money or the need for money maybe superficial, right? Shallow, egotistical. It doesn't mean anything. And I had that along with my upbringing. I was brought up in a very working class British town, right? Tall poppy syndrome type of mindset amongst everybody. And then I had people very close to me as I was growing up telling me that even wanting to have money and make money is greedy, is evil, it makes you a bad person, and so on and so on. So I've had this thing with money and wanting to make money for a long time, and I reached a point where I've been practicing spiritually for many years. And in recent times, I also realized, like, I want to make money, and I don't want to make money. I'm not motivated by materialistic things. I'm not motivated by cars or houses or watches or any of that. I want it for freedom and security for myself and my family. But I always had this thing, and I felt like I was self-sabotaging in a way, or I wasn't aiming high enough, or I didn't believe enough or want it enough, because I had this spiritual side of me that was telling me that, you know, materialistic things don't matter, money doesn't matter, and all this type of stuff. And I found recently, up until recently, a few things that have shifted my mindset, and I've actually become very comfortable with saying I want to make a lot of money. And I've said this on this channel before, I want to make money. This is one of the reasons why I do YouTube. And I'm okay with saying that now, but and also saying my path, my inner path, my inner journey, my spiritual journey is still unbelievably important. And if you struggle with that, I think there's a few things you can do that will help you as well. And that's helped me massively. So firstly is having an appreciation for capitalism, right? Especially in the philosophical, spiritual, especially the Eastern spiritual philosophies and yogi and hippie style lifestyle sort of mindsets. It's very much like capitalism is evil, and that's very popular anyway. Like socialist viewpoints and leftist viewpoints, capitalism is evil, right? Money is greed, and all this greed is blah 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 blah. And of course, there's a lot of things wrong with capitalism. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But there's so much great about it as well, and it's the best system we have, in my opinion, by far. And I'd much rather live in a capitalist society, than a socialist or a communist or whatever it is. And I sit here on this phone, able to send this message out, and you guys are watching this on your phones or your computers or whatever it is with Wi-Fi and yada yada. And that's all because of capitalism. That's all the great things. Now, of course, people will be like, oh, on your phone, and there's people slaving away in Africa to buy your phone on the cheap. Yes, of course, that's some of the bad things about it. But overall, I think it's definitely a force for good. So an appreciation for that, an appreciation for capitalism in that regard. And another thing you can do is to view making money a part of your spiritual journey, and use it as a tool to develop yourself spiritually. Because what is it? Ultimately it's a game. Like everything here, like life is a game. And you'll learn a lot about yourself if you chase financial success in business or whatever it is. There's a lot of skills involved. There's so much to learn. There's so much to do. There's a lot of ways that you can dive into that realm and that journey and learn a lot about yourself on the light, as long as you're checking in with yourself and you're reflecting a lot. And the only way you can really learn and gain the most out of that, let's say spiritually, if you play the game properly and take it seriously, not half-hearted, and not with one eye, one thought about that actually this is bad and this isn't good thing and it doesn't really mean anything and yada yada. It can mean a hell of a lot, and that can be a great tool. And another idea is that we often want to shape the world for better. Like I want to shape the world for better in any small minuscule way that I can, whether that's just affecting one person or 100 people or 1,000. It doesn't really matter in that sense. But if you have more money, you're able to do that. More money allows you a bigger reach, right? A big platform. If you get hundreds of thousands of subscribers and so on, that all allows you to affect the world in the way that you see is most positive. So that's another way to do it as well. And the last thing, and probably the most important thing for me, I check the time left. Yep. So the most important thing for me is it doesn't have to be one or the other, right? It doesn't have to be, you have to be a spiritual person or you have to be someone who wants to make money. You can be all of those things. It's all it is having multiple hats. And I can be spiritual when I need to be spiritual. I can go in, I can self-reflect, I can self-analyze and meditate or do any of that stuff when I'm doing that stuff. And then when it's time to go and try and make money and grow a business or work at work, whatever it is, that's the time to go and do it. And I stick that hard on at that specific moment. And understanding, here's the key thing, you have to understand that ultimately the result doesn't matter. Now, the result, making money and getting the success that's not really the real benefit. That's not really the real goal. You kind of have to detach yourself from that. And it's much easier to separate and put those hats on and take one hat off and put another hat when you detach from the outcome. And that you understand the old cliche about it is about the journey and not the destination. This is where the real value is. It is about the journey. It is about the lessons you learn about on the way, about yourself. That's why you can use it as a spiritual tool, as a spiritual practice. So, yeah, that's how I approach it. You detach yourself from the outcome, and then you try on those different hats. And it's not a case of not being grounded in who you are. Some people say, in regards to like having conversations with multiple people, if you're a different person, right, with different types of people, you don't have a sense of self. I don't believe that at all. I think actually it's great to have as many hats as you can. And me, for example, I can sit with the boys and have beers and chat football, and then I can go off and talk with someone else about philosophy, talk with someone else about business, and I've got multiple hats. And it's good to have that. It's good to have those hats. And so when you're in that moment, you put a certain hat on, that's who you are in that moment. And then you come away from that and you learn the lessons, you put another hat on, and so on. And something I have been wrestling with as well, and I would love to get your opinion on this one, guys. So I'm wrestling with this, is those people who reject materialism, especially if they actually have money. You know the types, right? They have money, but they wear simple clothes, they don't get flashy cars, they don't wear designer stuff and flashy watches. Everyone thinks comes from a point of strength, like, oh wow, they have money and they choose not to have it. That's a point of strength. But I'm not so sure anymore. I think maybe that's more like avoidance, running away. They're a little bit scared of what that stuff does. So instead of, or maybe they've seen what it does to them, and so they're trying to get rid of it. And that is some strength there to get rid of it and not be completely pulled in. But maybe being really strong is being fully in control of it, is having that stuff, wearing the watch, wearing the fancy watch, driving the nice car, but you're never attached to it. You don't attach your sense of self to it. You understand that these things ultimately really are meaningless. And if that watch, you lose the watch, someone steals it, it breaks, that's fine. It's all good. Maybe that's the better approach. If you can have it and truly, genuinely not put too much of value onto it. Love to hear your thoughts, guys.